What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today we're going to be doing a video, an extensive deep dive video on the quest lines from Skyrim to Oblivion of the Thieves Guild. And the reason for this, even though there's probably no reason at all, but point being, it's like I really want to talk about this because I think when it comes to the Thieves Guild in Oblivion and Skyrim, they each have their own type of feng shui to them. They're very unique in their mission structure and the conceptions of these faction quest lines. I think it's fairly unique, and the way how they tell from it different from each other, and that is why I think I do love the Thieves Guild in Skyrim, but I has absolutely loved it in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. But anyways, good morning and good afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And today we're going to be talking about why I think the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion has a better Thieves Guild questline, much like that of Skyrim's. But today we're going to be talking about what I'm going to be discussing here. And so basically the missions are revolved around stealing from the rich and unworthy and giving it to the poor in a classic Robin Hood-like narrative in Skyrim, in the Thieves Guild. And that's one of the greatest things, what I think, how this Thieves Guild is really unique to what the Thieves Guild was like in Oblivion. That's really cool. I really like the way how the gameplay reflects this, with stealth being the primary focus and some detective work needed for complex quests in which the goal is not obvious. And I think that's what's really cool about that, though, too, because that's one of the reasons why I kind of sort of loved Thieves Guild in Skyrim a little bit better than from Oblivion. But Oblivion did something far more unique when it came to its quest line, and I think that's what's so fabulous about it. But the greatest aspect of the Thieves Guild, especially in Skyrim to me personally, is indeed the hideout to where Skyrim is. And the hideout is basically, the guild doesn't have in Oblivion though, the guild doesn't have a central base, but instead spreads out meanings across the map in hidden locations. Skyrim's Thieves Guild questline does not do this, but it's still fairly unique to say as to why I think when it comes to the Thieves Guild in Skyrim, it's still unique and comparative to what the Thieves Guild questline in Oblivion did. So that's really cool. But not only that, in Skyrim, the Rift and Underground hideout is iconic with a range of explorable rooms and alcoves that adds character to the faction. And that's another thing what I really love about the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim, much like that from what it did in Oblivion, because in Oblivion, it was different. They didn't have a hideout per se, really, much towards the end of the Thieves Guild questline in Oblivion. But even still, everything was sporadic, and when you have like hidden locations in Oblivion for the Thieves Guild in Oblivion as well, there's always going to be hidden locations and being able to talk amongst the NPCs in the guild. And I think that's what's so good about that as well. And I think that's one of the greatest things why I think the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Thieves Guild is a little bit better in terms of that in terms of that style. But either or, I still think that Skyrim still has its own unique way of influencing what the faction is going to look like when in fact it has a hideout. And I think that's where Skyrim kind of wins in that kind of category. But other than that, I'm not saying a win-win for Oblivion or win-win for Skyrim. These Thieves Guild questlines in both Elder Scrolls games are good in their own unique way. And that's one of the reasons why I thoroughly loved the Thieves Guild in Oblivion, and why I actually thoroughly loved or liked the Thieves Guild in Skyrim as well. But however, the difference between Oblivion and Skyrim's Thieves Guild is that in Skyrim, the faction's missions are given to the player right away, and there are no restrictions on when the next mission can be played. Basically, what that means is when you have missions, you don't have to necessarily do them in order, right? But in Oblivion, it's not like that. You literally have to do them in order to progress. And we're going to be talking more about the Oblivion's questline a little bit more than Skyrim's, because in Skyrim's Thieves Guild questline, what I've also noticed by playing this game more than once is that the gameplay aesthetic of using stealth oriented in both the Thieves Guild in Oblivion and Skyrim, it's always implemented very well. But in Oblivion, it's a pure necessity You can't just all out go brute force and kill everybody. There is a little bit of a what's that word? There's a little bit of a constraint there, and I think that just thoroughly makes sense to that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think when it comes to the Thieves Guild in Oblivion, it's the reason why it's the better one. It's the better, I wouldn't say it's the better half, but it's definitely the better guild in Oblivion rather than Skyrim's, because in Skyrim, though, like I previously mentioned, it's streamlined. There's a lot more you can do by just like veering out the beaten path from the Thieves Guild quest line and just do whatever you want. You were not able to do that in Oblivion, but you can. But I feel like that there's going to be a little bit of, like I previously mentioned, there's going to be a little bit of a constraint there. So, anyways, now what we're going to do here is that I'm going to talk about more about Oblivion's Thieves Guild questline, because this is where the Thieves Guild in Oblivion is so good. It really is, because in each Thieves Guild main quests puts a strong emphasis on stealth and can't be completed with brute force or combat, as I previously mentioned. And not only that, even when the guild comes into conflict with other factions, the player is always tasked with handling the conflict in a subtle and covert way. You can't be able to do that in Skyrim's Thieves Guild, but it, like I previously mentioned, I know I'm going back to this, it was streamlined. You were able to do anything you want, not, and not be really, there is some penalization involved, but it's not deeply emphasized enough like it is in Oblivion's Thieves Guild questline. And so that's what that means. But in the Thieves Guild quest in Oblivion has a natural progression to them, and with each new mission furthering the player's rank in the guild and taking them with increasingly complex heists. The player will go from stealing a sword to sneaking through a palace's hidden entrances and eventually stealing an Elder Scroll. This is where Oblivion's Thieves questline is better. It's not just because it's better. It's the fact that you're able to, there's a lot of more emphasis on the stealth involved in Oblivion, because in Skyrim, it's not well emphasized. I mean, like I said, you can do whatever you want in the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim because it's more streamlined, as I previously mentioned, so I know I'm repeating myself, so my bad on that. But that's what that means. But stealing an Elder Scroll in Oblivion, it was amazing. I love there was a risk and reward system involved. But in the Thieves Guild in Skyrim, it's a little bit of a letdown, as I previously mentioned, because there's no risk and reward there. There is a little bit, but it's not. There's not a lot of emphasis on that, and I think that's where the game or the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim, it's not as, I wouldn't say it's uniquely flawed, but in Oblivion I think it's perfect, and hence the reason why in Oblivion in the Thieves Guild, you're able to rank up each time from mission to mission to mission, and being able to do certain types of side quests rather than like doing the main Thieves Guild questline in Oblivion. So that's what's really cool about Oblivion as well when it came to its Thieves Guild system and faction. But one key difference from Oblivion and Skyrim's Thieves Guild is that in Skyrim, the factions missions are given to the player right away with no restrictions on when the next mission can be played. On the other hand, Oblivion forces the players to use their thieving skills outside of the guild's missions, only giving players access to the next quest when enough stolen goods have been sold to the various fences around Cyrodiil. And that's where I'm saying it's like, there are fences in Skyrim that you are able to give people, but it's not sporadic like it was in Oblivion. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think Oblivion does a much better job and emphasis on being able to sell stolen goods and not being able to get caught from that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think the Thieves Guild questline in Oblivion, there's a lot more benefit. There's a lot more things going on in that faction in Oblivion. And I think that's where the Thieves Guild is, in fact, the better one, especially when it comes to versus Skyrim's Thieves Guild. But however, I really think when it comes to the ranking system in Oblivion as well, That is one thing that Skyrim's Thieves Guild questline did not do. There was no progression system at all. And it was one of the reasons why I kind of like felt, not, I wouldn't say really fell off, but it was something that it did not, it just didn't give you that ranking file system like you were able to do it in Oblivion, because I can't really per se what the ranking system was, but you are able to rank up in the Thieves Guild in Oblivion. I really can't say what the rankings were, but they were fairly unique. And giving that type of ranking to your player, it creates more of that risk, and not risk, but it creates more of that reward. And you are able to get rewards by, much like the Dark Brotherhood, you are able to get certain types of rewards in Oblivion in the Thieves Guild. And being able to utilize that type of reward in specific things that you can do, like speechcraft, you're able to sell things better. You're able to do a lot more things better than in Skyrim's Thieves Guild questline, because obviously they took a lot. Like I said, the emphasis on in the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim, it's not as fleshed out as it was in Oblivion. I think when it came to the Thieves Guild questline as well in Oblivion, it was much more fleshed out. It was a much better story. I'm not saying that the story isn't great in the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim. It's good, but it's just not fleshed out enough to make it interesting or captivating. But I still found it good. I still found it fun. But either or, I really think that when it came to Oblivion's Thieves Guild and Skyrim Thieves Guild, that these guilds do offer a certain type of certainty to where which Thieves Guild in Oblivion or Skyrim is going to be the strongest. As I previously mentioned, the Thieves Guild in Oblivion is quite stronger because there's a little bit of a story there. A little bit. There is a story in the Thieves Guild in Skyrim, of course. But I kind of figured everything out pretty close to the end of the Thieves Guild questline, and that's one of the things that I did not really like is predictability. That's the same thing with movies or any kind of video games for that matter, because there's a predictability involved. And that's what I'm saying in the Thieves Guild in Oblivion, though, the predictability wasn't there. It was totally non-existent. And that's one of the things I really loved about Oblivion's Thieves Guild questline as well. Because of that, there was no predictability. It was more fun. As I previously mentioned, it was captivating. It was interesting. I liked the way how the mission structure was from where you started and how you meet the people to get into the Thieves Guild questline, and towards the end by stealing that Elder Scroll. And that's where I was saying that's where I was saying that in Skyrim, though, there's nothing like that. And I think Bethesda really dumbed that down quite a bit in Skyrim, though. But like I said, I'm not condoning the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim. I'm not. It's just the fact that I kind of wish that they would not have done that, because I really think that if they were going to do Elder Scrolls 6 for guilds like this, they need to do it better. They really need to do it a lot better, because I really think that, and that's why I'm saying, or what I was thinking about just the other day, that I'm scared for the Elder Scrolls 6, even though I might not be coming to PlayStation, but I am scared for that game because of the fact I know that a lot of people have kind of veered off from Starfield. But however, I really think that if Bethesda really needs to pick it up, they really need to make things better if they really want to make another Elder Scrolls game. And I know that they are, and I know that it's in production, possibly. I don't know that for sure, but point being. But this is the reason why I'm hesitant. This is the reason why I feel like my faith for the Elder Scrolls 6, it's becoming totally non-existent, because it's the fact that where any kind of faction you're able to do in Oblivion is so much better than they are in Skyrim's. But the only faction I would say in Skyrim that I did thoroughly enjoy more than any other faction is the Thieves Guild, because I did do the mages, I did all the guilds basically, and they were fun and interesting. But I felt that the Thieves Guild of all guilds in Skyrim is the strongest. I mean, I do think that the Mages Guild it was pretty unique. It was different, but it's been years since I played Oblivion, and I really can't say what the Mages Guild questline was like. But either or, I still think, as I previously mentioned, that I want to see where the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to go. If in fact, if I upgrade to get towards a PC or maybe an Xbox Series X. But point being, I'm really hoping that Bethesda can really just, I really wish that they can just step it up and tell us and say, hey, all is well with the Elder Scrolls 6. We are doing what we can to trust us fans for the Elder Scrolls. But again, that's where everybody is losing faith. I actually believe that a lot of fans are losing faith in Elder Scrolls 6, me included, as I previously mentioned this before. So there's a reason why I wanted to do this video. There is a reason why I wanted to talk about the Thieves Guild questline in Skyrim and in Oblivion, and that's where I think this is going to be the most important thing to think about. If in fact, when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, I would love to see another faction guild questline like this in Elder Scrolls 6, Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, or anything for that matter. But either or, I'm hoping to see what the future holds for the Elder Scrolls 6. So, but anyways, this is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And this was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate it. So, thank you for everything that everybody has been giving me, positive feedback, and you guys have a good rest of your week. Peace.